Hello everyone, and welcome back to Warcry 2.0, where we take a look at the Gloomspite Gitz today. They have traditionally been one of the top tier warbands. People have complained about them, called them OP. They've been quite good. With the new, obviously, books for the Grand Alliances, many other warbands have also received buffs. So let's see how big the buffs are for Gloomspite Gitz and if we think they are still very competitive, and then have a look at their list that I would recommend bringing as well. So first off, we got one new unit option, who is the Spider Rider. He's 150 points. That's not that expensive for a riding unit really. Movement 10, toughness 4, 16 wounds. All pretty nice there. On top of that, he does not have the mounted rune mark, so he can climb buildings. He can't fly like the squigs, but he can climb buildings. He has a range of 2 attacks, strength 3, 1/4 damage. On top of that, he has a little bow that does less crit damage, but is otherwise the same attacks characteristics. The issue with him is, in my opinion, that his damage output is too low. 150 points is quite bad. If this was a warband that previously didn't have access to a 10-inch movement model, I would absolutely recommend bringing him. However, we have the very good squig hoppers, who are also movement 10 but fly on top of that and have a insane damage output, which is like 5 times as high as that of the Spider Rider. Sorry, it's 4 times anyways. That just seems so much better, and I don't feel like the Spider Rider is going to be worth it, even though he's 50 points cheaper. But yeah, those 50 points are well spent on the squig hopper. Then we got a lot of new hero options, although on the bottom here, the 5 Gobbapaloozas aren't actually hero options. They can be taken as allies for other warbands, which is special about them, but they are not leaders. So even though they can be taken as allies, you can include them just as unit options in your warband. So anyways, we got the Loon Boss and the Loon Boss on Giant Cave Squig. The Cave Squig apparently costs exactly 100 points because he's 100 points more expensive than the normal Loon Boss. What do you get for the Cave Squig? Well, you have a movement 8, toughness 5, 26 wounds. So very, very survivable, or pretty survivable, let's say. For Goblin standards, he's the most survivable guy in the warband. He's not quite as fast as the squig hoppers, however he also has flight, so he's very much in line with the Boingrots. He does have a range of 2 as well, 4 attack, strength 5, 5 damage, for an average of 7.4 damage. So he is pretty powerful in melee, and he just costs 10 points more than the Boingrot for the 2 wounds he gets and an ability that we're going to talk about as well. So far he looks pretty decent. Then we got the normal Loon Boss. On foot, basically, he's 175 points, so quite a bit cheaper, 100 points as I said. Movement 4, toughness 4, 18 wounds. So he's a lot more squishy for sure, and movement 4 obviously is not as great. No flying on him as well, of course. Also has a range of 2 for attack, strength 4, 2 4 damage, so his damage output in general is lower as well. So you can see why he costs less points. He's just a little weaker in general. 5.4 damage on average here. Still not bad for 175 points. I think he's very much in line with many other leader options. He gets the same ability that the Loon Boss on Cave Squig also gets. So then we have the Fungoid Cave Shaman. He costs 175 points as well. Has a movement 4, toughness 3, 18 wounds, so he loses 1 point of toughness over the Loon Boss. And for his attack, he has the normal magic ranged attack for 3.1 damage on average. It's not that great. He's quite expensive for what he brings. We'll have a look at his abilities later on. Then we got the Scuttle Boss. He's essentially the boss option for Spider Rider. Well, he's not actually the boss option for Spider Riders. He's a bigger Spider Rider, essentially. 220 points for him. Movement of 10, toughness 4, 26 wounds. So, survivable, good wound count. Not bad there. A range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2, 4 damage, for an average of 4 points of damage. Again, the Spider Riders are just very inferior in terms of damage output compared to the Cave Squigs, which is a bit sad. And yeah, he just seems a lot worse in general than the Loon Boss. Of course, he is also a lot cheaper, so there's that. Then we have the Web Spinner Shaman. He's 150 points, so quite a bit cheaper than the Fungoid Cave Shaman. Has a move of 4, toughness 3, 16 wounds. And also gets the normal magic ranged attack. Obviously, it's gonna be a bit better on him than on the Fungoid Cave Shaman because he's cheaper. Then we got our Spider Rider boss. So yeah, obviously only the leader option for the Spider Riders. Also costs 220 points, like the Scuttle Boss. Has a move of 10, toughness 4, 22 wounds, so less wounds than the Scuttle Boss. Range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 3, 2, 4 damage. Can that be true? That seems a yeah, he's just worse than the Scuttle Boss. Awesome. Well, I know who you're not bringing. Anyways, then we got the Gobbapaloozas. So I'm not going to go over every one stats here because they are so similar. All of them cost 85 points. They all have movement 4, toughness 3. The Boggle Eye weirdly has 16 wounds instead of 12, which all the others have. Oh, sorry, it's not the Boggle Eye, it's the Scaremonger. They all have similar attack profiles, again though with the Scaremonger being the best one out of them with 4 attack, strength 3, 1, 4 damage. So obviously still not a great attack profile, but not a bad one for an 85 point model. So that's all the units. Let's have a look at their abilities and points costs. So the Spider Rider, of course, is very bad damage per point value, as is the Spider Rider boss. We're not surprised there. Then we got the Loon boss on Cave Squig and the normal one, who are both decent points value, and the same can be said for their survivability. So they are just like average, which is in line with most of the warband, actually, even the Squig Hoppers and so on, because even though they do good damage, they also cost a lot of points. Then we have the Cave Shaman, the Scuttle Boss, the Web Spinner Shaman. All of those are not great in terms of their damage efficiency, of course, because of the ranged magic attacks and so on. What's maybe interesting is that the Scaremonger, as I said, his damage output is quite high at 3.4, which makes him a good damage per point value in terms of his 85 points. Whereas all the others are more average. For abilities, we did get one new one for the units, which is basically for the Spider Riders, and the Scuttle Boss and the Spider Rider boss also get it. Which is they can pick one enemy within 1 inch of them and throw a number of dice equal to the value. And each 2 plus is going to do 1 damage, and each 6 is going to deal 3 damage. So on average, this ability is better than the charge ability for the Squigs, because first off, the Squigs have to make a move action to use it, whereas this one you can use even in combat if you want to. And on top of that, it just deals slightly more damage on average, very slightly though. Both are reliant on the triple you roll, so it doesn't matter what kind of triple you roll for this one to be slightly better. Anyways, though, it's not going to justify bringing Spider Riders over Squig Riders. squigs are gonna be better than spiders. I think it's kind of sad. I think the spiders are really cool. I would have hoped for them to be more viable than they are, but yeah, definitely bring squigs. Then we got obviously new leader options. We got the web spinner shaman. He gets to add 1 inch to movement for all spiders within 6 inches of him. Now spiders already have 10 inches of movement. Making them 11-inch movement really doesn't feel that great to me. I really wished he would have given a bunch of extra attacks or strength or whatever to the spiders. That would have been much more interesting than giving him more movement, because yeah, as I said, they are 10-inch move. They don't need his help there, and it's a very limited ability because it only helps the spiders, so I don't really see myself ever using the web spinner shaman. Then we have a triple for everyone, which is adding 1 to the attacks characteristic for friendly units within 6 inches. That is obviously a great ability, and yeah, you're gonna use that a lot. Then we have a triple for our fungoid cave shaman, who basically can roll 1 dice for every enemy within 3 inches, and on a 3 up they take 1 damage, on a 5 up they take damage equal to half the value of the ability. It's not a horrible ability, however, he does not want to get into close combat normally, and for this to be kind of good, you'd need to be in a big bunch of enemies, and he's not gonna survive there, he's gonna die. So I really don't like this ability, and I think the Fungoid Cave Shaman is not a great pick. That leaves us with the quad for the Loon Boss. He gets to add the value of the ability to the attacks characteristic for friendly units within 6 inches of him. That is absolutely insane. So even if that value is only 3, for example, on a quad you're gonna buff everyone with 3 extra attacks within 6 inches of him. That is the Skaven leader ability on steroids. It's so good. It's like ridiculously good. It is on a quad, and it does compete with the quad that that everyone gets for this warband for the Gloomspites, which is also very good, which is just a massively buffed up rampage. However, I think this is even better. However, it's going to be situational, of course. But if you do have a couple of good fighters around you, if you have like 1 or 2 squig hoppers next to you, this obviously is going to buff yourself as well. So if you use this, say with the quad 3, you get 6 extra attacks on yourself, on your own boss. I have to show you this just so you understand how amazing this ability is. So he normally has 4 attacks. Say that goes up to 7. Watch his damage. So from 7.4 he jumps to 13 damage. So he doubles his damage almost, which is amazing. And that's for 1 attack. He can do 2 of those, so that'd be like 10 to 14 damage. Oops, you do on top of your normal damage. And then if you have a squig hopper nearby, for example, who'd also get that buff, you'd again jump from 6.7 damage to 11.8. So again, almost doubling your damage output there. And that is just such value. Yeah. And again, of course, that's a 6-inch bubble, so it could easily hit 4 or 5 of your guys, especially in turns 3 and 4. Obviously, oftentimes things converge on the center of the battlefield or around an objective, and this is going to be massive. So awesome ability there, and I think it means you can't leave home without a Loon Boss. Then we got the Gobbapalooza. They all get their own abilities as well. Keep in mind you can bring these guys as allies for other warbands. So the Boggle Eye can basically net down an enemy. He's essentially the same as a goblin netter. The one difference is that the distance between you and the enemy doesn't have to be 3 inches, but it's inch equal to the value of your ability. So if you have a double 6, you can pick someone who's quite far away. However, if you only have a double 1 at your disposal, it's going to be a lot worse than for the netter. I think in general, I don't really see the big value of bringing him over a normal netter. The netter is cheaper and probably gonna do the exact same job for you. So I'd stick with the netter. Then we got the Brugid. He can pick one friend within 3 inches of him and add half the value of the ability to the attack's characteristic, but only for one attack action. So it's slightly better than Onslaught is, but only slightly. Again, do you need an extra model for that who costs 85 points? Don't know that you do. Probably not. Then we got the Spiker, who can do exactly the same thing, but instead of adding attacks, he's gonna add strength to your model. Also not that great, because you can only add the strength to one unit, and your hard-hitting units in this warband all are strength 5 anyways, so you don't need it. And yeah, you don't really want to buff a normal goblin with this, so not that great. Then we got a triple for the Scaremonger, who can add half the value of the movement of the ability to the movement for one friendly unit within 6 inches of him. It's only one friendly unit though, and not all of them, so it's significantly worse than the War is. And for a triple, I don't think it's a great ability either. So so far, 4 out of 4 have been not that great. Luckily, we also get the Shroomancer. The Shroomancer can pick one enemy within inches equal to the value of the ability, and he reduces their attack's characteristic by the value of the ability. So that can be very, very big. The one issue is it is a triple, so it's gonna compete with your generic leader ability, of course. But let's be real, if you bring this warband, if you roll a natural triple, you're gonna make it a quad with your wild dice. However, oftentimes you don't roll natural triples. Quite often you have 2 wild dice. You roll 2 doubles, for example. Well, get 1 triple for your leader ability, get 1 triple for the Shroomancer. Or you roll a triple and a double, get your Loon Boss quad, get your Shroomancer triple. It's gonna be useful, because it can basically nullify an enemy even if he's already in combat and in a very powerful position. You can really nerf an enemy to the ground with this, which is awesome. So I really like this. Let's have a look at what kind of units I'd bring then. Well, first off, I'd bring a netter. Netters are great, and they cost only 45 points. No reason not to bring one. I'd bring 3 shooters, because body... oh man, excuse me guys. Shooters are great. They cost 65 points, which is cheap. So they give you bodies. You need activations, of course. If you bring stabbers, for example, who only costs 5 points more, you can also use out-activate your opponent, but you're going to have to spend weight actions on your stabbers. Well, instead you could take a shot with your shooters and waste activations of your opponent that way, and even do some tiny bit of poking damage in the meantime. And also, of course, these guys can hold objectives, even though they are very squishy. Then I'd bring 2 Squig Hoppers, because Squig Hoppers are so good. They are your big damage dealers. They are gonna do stuff for you. They can move fast. Yeah, really good. Obviously, you heard me talk about him. I would bring a Loon Boss on Giant Cave Squig. His ability is awesome. he's a good model. As I said, only 10 points more than the Boingrod boss anyways, and he gets that amazing ability on top, so definitely bring him. And then we have the Shroom Bouncer. I think what's nice about the Gobbapaloozas is they cost only so little more than your normal like shooters or anything, so I'm not really sacrificing anything by bringing a Scaremonger. Sorry, a Shroom Bouncer. I could have just as well brought a Stubber or a Shooter, but yeah, like that would only mean I have some points left. I'm not sacrificing much for him, and I do get access to that triple, which can be very useful. And also, like, he's no worse in combat. He's actually better in combat than your stabbers are and so on. So, yeah, not a bad choice for, I think, on the Shroom Bouncer. So yeah, that's really it. The Squig, of course, I was previously recommending bringing him because the Squig, for his points cost, deals a ton of damage. However, his movement 4 is kind of preventing them from being super useful oftentimes. So you do kind of need to get a Squig Herd on top of them. And at that point you're almost at the cost of a Squig Hopper. And you need to spend abilities to make your Squig move fast. So instead of that, you could just as well bring the Squig Hopper, have all the advantages built in. And I think that's no worse. So this is the warband I'd go with. I think it's a very, very potent warband, especially the Loon boss is crazy good. And yeah, you're gonna do great stuff with this. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching, and this is Reader signing out.